brutal truth about motivation no one tells you. You've been lied to. Every single day, someone tells you that you just need to find motivation. Watch a video, listen to a speech, repeat some affirmations, and boom, you'll finally get your life together. But here's the brutal truth. Motivation is the biggest scam in the self-improvement world. You don't need more motivation. You need to understand why you've been addicted to needing it. Because motivation is not what moves your life forward. It's what keeps you stuck waiting for permission to start. Part 1. The lie we were sold. Let's start with the myth. You see a video of someone waking up at 4 a.m., running in the rain, eating perfect meals, journaling by candlelight, and the voiceover says, discipline, grind, motivation. You watch it. You feel a spark, that small hit of energy that makes you want to fix your whole life overnight. You plan your routine, write your goals, make promises to yourself, and then 2 days later, it's gone. You're back to procrastinating, scrolling, and feeling like you failed again. That's not because you're lazy. It's because you were chasing the wrong drug. See, motivation is emotional caffeine. It hits fast, feels powerful, but fades even faster. You get addicted to the feeling of progress instead of the act of progress. And the people who sell you motivation know that. They know you'll come back when you crash. So they keep feeding you more quotes, edits, speeches, highlight reels, all to keep you dependent on something that was never supposed to last. Motivation was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be a spark, not the fire. Part 2. The real reason you feel stuck. Let's be honest. Most people don't have a motivation problem. They have a friction problem. Every time you say, I'm just not motivated, what you really mean is, I'm overwhelmed by how much effort this will take. You don't want to go to the gym because it feels like a huge task. You don't want to study because you've already told yourself it's going to be boring. You don't want to start that side project because you're scared of failing. It's not about motivation. It's about resistance. And here's where it gets dark. You've trained yourself to wait for motivation before acting. That's why you're stuck in a loop. You wait to feel ready. You wait to feel confident. You wait for the perfect mood. But that feeling doesn't come. Because motivation doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who move. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. That's the part no one tells you. Part 3. The physics of effort. Let's talk science for a second. Your brain runs on momentum. When you're resting, it resists movement. That's inertia. But once you start, it wants to keep going. That's momentum. So when you say, I'll start when I feel motivated, you're misunderstanding how the brain works. You'll only feel motivated after you start. It's like trying to push a car. The hardest part is the first few seconds, getting it to move. But once the wheels start rolling, it gets easier. Your brain works the same way. That first 5 minutes of doing something you don't want to do, that's the friction point. Push through it, and suddenly it's not that hard anymore. But if you keep waiting for motivation before moving, you'll stay parked forever. The trick isn't to find motivation. It's to lower the friction between you and starting. Part 4. How motivation actually works. Motivation isn't magic. It's just dopamine, the neurotransmitter that drives desire. Here's what people get wrong. They think dopamine equals pleasure. It doesn't. It equals anticipation. You get dopamine from the chase, not the reward. Which means motivation only works when your brain expects progress. That's why small wins matter. That's why breaking big goals into small steps actually works. Every time you complete a small task, your brain says, hey, that felt good. Let's do another. So if you're waiting for a burst of motivation to start, you've got it backward. You don't get dopamine before you start. You earn it by starting. The moment you begin, your brain starts producing the motivation you were waiting for. That's why action always beats inspiration. Part 5. The harsh reality of motivation culture. The modern world sells you the fantasy that you need to feel good to do hard things. But the truth is, most of what will change your life will feel awful at first. Discipline, focus, consistency. They're all boring, repetitive, and uncomfortable. There's nothing cinematic about sitting alone in silence doing deep work, while everyone else scrolls through dopamine loops. But that's what separates the people who make progress from the people who just talk about it. The self-improvement world loves to romanticize growth, soft lighting, motivational edits, aesthetic journaling. But real growth? It's messy, it's ugly, it's lonely, and most of the time, it feels like you're failing. The brutal truth about motivation is that you don't need it. You need to act without it. Because motivation is like a friend who only shows up when things are easy. Discipline is the one who stays when it gets hard. Part 6. The cycle of dependence. Let's be real, motivation is addictive. It makes you feel productive without actually being productive. You binge watch how to be disciplined videos and call it research. You spend hours writing the perfect plan instead of taking the first step. That's not planning. That's avoidance disguised as productivity. It's the same cycle over and over again. You get inspired, you start, you crash, you feel guilty, you search for more motivation, and the loop continues. You've trained your brain to associate change with consumption, not action. That's why so many people never improve. They chase the feeling of progress instead of the process of progress. Breaking the cycle means accepting this. You're never going to feel like it, and that's okay. You just do it anyway. Part 7. How to build momentum when motivation dies. Let's get practical. If motivation can't be trusted, how do you keep moving? Here's how. Step 1. Lower the activation barrier. Don't make your goals harder than they need to be. If you want to work out, start with 10 minutes. If you want to study, just open the book. If you want to build a habit, start stupidly small, because small starts are the antidote to procrastination. You don't need a huge burst of motivation to take a tiny step. And once you take that step, momentum builds naturally. Step 2. Focus on systems, not feelings. Feelings are inconsistent. Systems are stable. A system is what you do even when you don't feel like it. Set time blocks, create checklists, build a routine, not because you're motivated, but because your brain loves predictability. Every system is a bridge over the days when your emotions betray you. Step 3. Make failure normal. You're going to miss days. You're going to fall off. Stop pretending perfection exists. The key isn't to never fail. It's to never stay failed. Winners don't have fewer bad days. They just don't let one bad day turn into a bad week. Step 4. Reframe discomfort. You're not supposed to feel good while doing hard things. The discomfort you feel isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's proof you're growing. If it's uncomfortable, it's working. The people who embrace that feeling are the ones who evolve. Everyone else just runs from it and calls it waiting for motivation. Part 8. The emotional crash. There's something people don't talk about in self-improvement. The crash after the hype. You'll have those days where you feel unstoppable. You wake up early, you're locked in, you're winning. Then suddenly nothing. You wake up the next day and everything feels heavy. That's not you losing motivation. That's just your brain resetting dopamine levels. Motivation is chemical. It spikes and dips naturally. But discipline? That's built through consistency, not chemistry. So instead of chasing the next high, build tolerance of the lows. Learn to move even when it feels like you're dragging yourself through mud. Because that's where the real growth happens. Not when it's easy, but when it's silent, uncomfortable, and unseen. Part 9. The truth about people you admire. You know the people you look up to, the athletes, creators, entrepreneurs, or even that one friend who seems to have it together. They're not more motivated than you. They're just better at doing things. Without motivation, they don't wait to feel like it. They've built systems that make action automatic. Motivation got them started. Discipline keeps them going. When you stop worshiping motivation, you start respecting discipline. And that's when your life stops being emotional and starts being intentional. Part 10. The shift. Here's the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop asking, how do I stay motivated? Start asking, how do I act when I'm not motivated? Because that's what defines you. Anyone can work when they're inspired, but your future is built on what you do when you're tired, bored, or unmotivated. The brutal truth is, you're never going to feel like it all the time, but you don't need to. You just need to keep showing up again and again until the habit becomes who you are. Motivation starts the process. Discipline finishes it. Part 11, the lock-in mindset. Let's call it what it is. Most people don't have a motivation issue. They have a follow-through issue. They chase intensity instead of consistency. They want fireworks, not foundations. They want results now, not progress slowly. But the lock-in mindset is different. It's about doing what you said you'd do, even when the feeling is gone. It's about understanding that motivation is temporary, but movement is permanent. Every small action compounds. Every boring day adds up. Every quiet effort builds something unstoppable. That's how you build confidence. That's how you build identity. That's how you build freedom. You stop chasing motivation and start locking in. Part 12, the final truth. Let me leave you with this. If you're waiting for motivation to change your life, you'll be waiting forever. Because motivation was never meant to carry you. It was only meant to start you. The people who win aren't the ones who feel ready. They're the ones who act anyway. The ones who show up on the days they don't want to. The ones who keep moving even when it's not exciting anymore. That's the brutal truth. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a choice. And consistency is what changes everything. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for a spark. Just start, small, messy, and perfectly. Because once you start, momentum follows. And once momentum builds, motivation becomes irrelevant. So yeah, motivation might get you out of bed. But discipline, that's what builds your life. Welcome to Lock-in Mode, where we stop chasing the feeling and start building the future. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more amazing videos. Like this video, comment, and share. Join me in my next video. Bye.